Hey, 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 yeah.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is PegLegCraig, and we're having a very solemn week. We can all say a hero has fallen, and Charlie Kirk was a hero, and I'll explain why in a minute. But first, I want to take a moment and just take a moment with me and a silent prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family. Okay, now we have work to do. I'm very concerned about why they chose Charlie Kirk and why they made him such a hateable figure. And you have to remember that amongst the conservative wing of the MAGA party, Charlie Kirk, while loved and respected, was still considered kind of a milquetoast. But see, there was a layer to Charlie Kirk that, people are starting to recognize now more than ever. And that is that Charlie Kirk was a Christian, and a very good one by any standard or any measure that I could come up with. Uh, he's had some stumbles along the way, I suppose, but none of that really matters because Charlie was a hero. He stood up for Jesus Christ. He was never afraid to stand on his faith. And that's the way that we all need to be now. All right. The best thing you can do for Charlie Kirk at this point is to be a good Christian, because if you asked him right now in heaven what he would want most, I think that's what he'd want. He once said in an interview that he wanted to be remembered most. The interviewer asked him, if what would you like to be remembered most for, and he said he would like to be remembered most as a servant of God, a servant of Jesus Christ. So that's the kind of man Charlie Kirk was, and that's the kind of man that they took away from us. And let's discuss a little bit about why they took Charlie Kirk away. All right, one of the things, like I said, is that the great scientist himself, Elon Musk, said that woke is a mind virus, the woke mind virus. Well, Charlie Kirk was really the only one out of all the people on the MAGA side who was out there having the political debate and out there having the Christian debate. And he was effective. I have never seen one of his question and answer periods where anyone got the better of him. Not once. I have to give it to him. The man was a gifted God. Jesus gave him the gift to debate. And he debated with such intensity, it was like the performance of a miracle, if you can understand what I'm saying here. When he did this, when he would go on these debates and people would, like, they couldn't get around his politics, so they would try to question his faith. He always stuck by it, and he was always able to beat back the questioner. Now, I'd love to go through a whole rigmarole of Charlie Kirk reels and all that other stuff, but we're not that kind of broadcast here. We know who he is. We respect him. We know where to find him. If you don't know where to find him, contact me, and I'll give you links so that you can find them. We know what Charlie's contribution was. He was the most effective. His efficacy against the woke mind virus was better than any vaccine created for any illness ever, because it started to turn people's hearts and minds. And the great thing about now that he has passed, there is no great thing about his passing other than heaven, gets a good one, which they always do. They get the best of us because everyone has to go at some point. But not only did, was he, you know, what his legacy is now is, I see people all around the internet turning to Jesus Christ. All right. Even Jeremy from the Quartering today was given uh, uh, a he actually said on his show basically the day after that he was joining a church now. And as I've been thinking and praying on Charlie Kirk, a song came to my mind, and it's a song that may seem out of place at first, but hear me out. You know the Michael Jackson song, "Man in the Mirror"? Yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but there's one very good quote. I'm talking with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And I think that seeing this happen to a young, wonderful father and husband, above all, a great Christian who was out there doing God's work everywhere. That's what we lost. But the greatest legacy that we can give him now is to become good Christians. Now, having said all that, I'm also concerned about some other things. I'm concerned about us and them. We don't retaliate directly. All right. It's just not in God's word that we should be going and launching attacks on them. I mean, who are we going to attack? But it is important now that we put these people in a corner. We ridicule. We look through all of their things. All right. We have plenty of hackers out there. There's some really good ones on X that do a fantastic job of getting into these discords and finding out what's going on. And it turns out today now there are 6 accounts. They could belong to one person or more that seem to have at least had prior knowledge of it. Plus, there are other accounts outside of that Discord who seem to have had prior knowledge of it. So, if you want to help and you want to be a warrior and you want to fight here, all right, the best thing you can do is to not let the government sit on it. A lot of people gave Cash Patel a hard time about how he handled Charlie Kirk. And I've given Cash Patel a hard time right on down the line. But honestly, you couldn't ask for a better result than what we got. Yeah, he was on the run for all of 33 hours or so, 34 hours, something like that. But they had checked for him in the normal places. They knew who he was. It was only a matter of time until they got him. And they didn't want to put it into a situation where he might have a standoff with police or take hostages or anything like that. And it turned out that his own father, who I believe is a member of the LDS church, brought him down after speaking to a youth pastor of all things, brought him down to the police station and turned him in with his consent. So honestly, let's lay off Cash a little bit right now and Bongino and the rest of them because there really was no better way they could have done this. Now, where we are going to keep an eye on them is how they handle it from here because we know damn well, and this is my own speculation when I say this, we know damn well it wasn't just one person all alone in a vacuum that, you know, did this all by themselves. They had to have had help. This was too professionally planned. I mean, honestly, I smell a rat somewhere, a Fed somewhere in this. But that's again my speculation. I can't say that with any certainty, and there are no facts to back me up at this time. But let's keep our eyes open for that and let's keep fighting on that. Now, another thing that the left is doing, and this is disgusting. All right. The left needs to stop this, and we need to stop them. All right. They're trying to say that, oh, he was actually a MAGA guy. You see the family he came from? He came from a good MAGA family. Well, first off, on one of the bullets was written, I can't get the Bella Ciao to come up. Okay, I've entirely lost the picture. Uh, okay, here we go. Uh, Bella Ciao originated as a 19th century folk song sung by women working in Italian rice fields, lamenting harsh conditions. It was adapted by anti fascist partisans during World War II to tell the story of a fighter bidding farewell before going to war for freedom, becoming a powerful symbol of the resistance. Today, the song is a universal hymn of resistance and freedom, adopted, it should be adapted really, by various protest movements worldwide. Now, the vast majority of those protest movements do not and are not capable of truly understanding what these women lived under and what life was like even during World War II under fascist Italy and Mussolini. And another thing that I want to say about these people is a true fascist is somebody that would shut down free speech with a bullet. All Charlie Kirk ever did was talk. He didn't take action against anybody. He didn't hit anybody. He didn't do anything to anybody for any reason. He talked. And if you can't handle a conversation, then walk away from it. But there is nothing that anybody says other than inciting violence directly, which means go out and stomp somebody, not this is wrong, this isn't right. I recognize your right to exist, but it's not for me because it's not under biblical. It's not biblical. Let me just put it like that. Now, for that, I want to go. Now, I want you to understand that this shows us what a society on the edge becomes. Okay, Jeremiah 51:30. This is talking about Babylon, which was, the big center of the world at one time. King James Version, Jeremiah 51:30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. They have become as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. Now, yeah, I know bars are broken. A lot of people think of modern bars, but no, it's more like her gates. Um, that it was easy to walk through. Well, this is what the trans activist movement and all the other LGBT special movements, in my opinion, are trying to do to us. All right. They're trying to break us apart so that men become as women, weak, submissive, supine. We can't allow this to happen to our men. Men have to be men again. We have to stand up and we have to be brave. And we will not let this be. We will not let this come. We will not let this happen because now we have been renewed in spirit. Charlie's wife gave one of the most beautiful speeches. Now, a lot of the left is calling it hateful. Well, excuse me, the man just got shot in front of him or in front of her and her two children. So if you have a problem with that on the left, I don't care. Was it JD Vance said, frankly, Margaret, I don't care. So that's how we should be feeling about that. And we cannot allow ourselves to become men, become as women. All right. This is an abomination. It goes against nature. If you're 18 and you choose to do this to yourself, fine. But I think that any parents, and that includes all these celebrities, we've seen this rash of celebrities who have, all these trans children or their children or this or that, something else that fits into that arena. All right. It's disgusting. And you know damn well it is child abuse. Why would there be a sudden rash of this stuff now that it's en vogue as opposed to 20 years ago, 40 years ago? Now, you can have a few exceptions among that. Jamie Lee Curtis's kid, whatever it is now, and Chaz Bono. But I'm for the most part, all these celebrities, or are transitioning their kids on their own. They're dressing their boys as girls and girls as boys. You mean to tell me that none of them really wanna a boy doesn't wanna be a boy and a girl doesn't wanna be a girl? That you didn't propagandize them into thinking that? Think back to how many things you wanted to be when you were a kid. I can certainly think of a lot of things I wanted to be when I was a kid. None of them ever involved being a woman, though, I can tell you that. But again, if we indulge this, flights of fancy, this stuff that's being indoctrinated into our kids in our schools. Last week, I read you a whole list of perverts who want to take advantage of our children. Don't you think that it would make it much easier to do that if you bring this lifestyle into being where, oh, you don't have to be a man today. You can be a woman if you want. And doesn't that cheapen the experience of actually being a woman? None of these men who become women have ever had periods. They don't have to risk pregnancy. They don't have the burdens that women have. And they didn't earn the right to be called women. They weren't born that way. And you can give me this born in the wrong body all you want. Well, I was born in the wrong body too. I should have had a body like, a movie star or something. And I did when I was younger. But anyway, this is what we have to fight against. We cannot let them turn our kids into these, you know, horrific, disgusting beings who only live for their own self importance. The woke mind virus teaches that, you are the important thing. Do you ever watch any of these cop videos, cop cam videos where the cops are pulling people over and you see these kids, I'm under arrest. And the kids, no, I'm not. You're under arrest. No, I'm not. Yeah, you are. And there's nothing you can do about it. And you just watch them go through these crazy fits and all this other stuff. Listen, I've been busted plenty of times in my life. Never had a charge stick in any way, shape, or form, but I've been busted plenty of times. I rode with a rough crew. I had long hair. I wore biker gear. Was in that lifestyle. And I don't want to be too specific because my brothers deserve that. But at the same time, I've been there. So what do? You let them put the cuffs on you, you turn, you sit quietly, you go to court and you fight it. You don't say anything. You don't say anything at all. But these kids that are brought up like this, these overindulged little brats that grow up into adult brats are doing this. I mean, they are going this extra mile. They're freaking out entirely. They cannot face accountability on any level. And that's because of the schools, and that's because of weak parenting, and that's because we forgot about God. Now I'm going to introduce something to you that you wouldn't normally associate with the Bible. You see this? This is a triangle. At the top of that triangle in a Christian life, at the top of that triangle should be God, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit. However you want to interpret it, go ahead. God at the top. Okay. On the left side of the triangle should be the mother. On the right side of the triangle should be the father. Inside the triangle should be the children. The parents are supposed to be walling them off from the world in the sense that teaching them to die to this world every day. And when I say that, I don't mean it to sound as drastic quite as it sounds, but I mean that you have to just let go of this world. It's not important. What's important is you seek things in the kingdom of heaven. And if you don't seek those things in the kingdom of heaven, when the time comes, when your ticket gets pulled, when the silver cord parts, however you want to put it, you're going to face eternal damnation. And you know what? Parents who indulge their kids too much, so are you. Now, I don't know that you won't make it to heaven or not. I am not here to judge that. That is not my place. What I can say is that it is a sin. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Okay, well, maybe that doesn't mean you have to hit them in the modern era. All right. That's a parental choice, and I'm not going there right now. What I'm talking about is if you can't discipline your kids, if you can't make them look people in the eyes and be accountable for the things that they did, and you just keep trying to get them out of this and out of that because you think it makes you look like the good parent, well, it might make you look like that down here, but not in God's eyes. In God's eyes, you failed your child. You do understand that, I hope. And I hope that now that Charlie Kirk has passed and that Charlie Kirk's memory has become a spirit that we've all breathed in and picked up and lifted ourselves up with, we can only hope that you will follow in his example. We have to take the left on. All right. There's no more, any more holes barred. And there's no more of this where we have a gathering or vigils or whatnot, and then people are going to attack it. Today they tried that in DC, and the guy got knocked on his face, and then the cops took him away. That's how we're going to have to be all the time now because there's always someone out to get us. And until we put, our boot on the neck of this woke mind virus, it's always going to be like this. And we're always going to have to fight for it. And I'm sorry that life is hard for you, but I want you to think about previous generations and the generational sacrifices they made so that you can live the way that you do now. Think of the people from the 20s and the 30s who worked very hard and started building up some family wealth, which they passed on to their kids. And the World War II generation, they're all part of that. They were the best at passing on wealth and education to their children. And then from there, the boomers kind of screwed it all up. Although there are plenty of good boomers out there. And, I'm Gen X, and Gen X was kind of this weird anomaly generation that came in the middle. We still had the values of the World War II generation for some reason, like it had skipped past the boomers and into us. And there are more of us that are like that than aren't. Jack's generation is by far more conservative than any of the other generations per capita. It's just that we happen to be a very small generation right now. Many of us, died off in wars. Uh, you know, um, when the drug epidemic hit, when crack first become a thing, all these other stuff, all these other things, we, fell to a lot of that, and we had a lot of early deaths in our lives because of that. And it is a shame and it is sad. But I do believe right now, X generation is holding this whole thing up. And we want to bring millennials along with us now. Millennials are the first produced of these soy children. And if we're going to get past this again, we have to start making them face accountability. Even your millennial child now. Are you a parent that's paying for your millennial child's life and they're not doing anything except playing video games? Well, you're part of the problem. Make them get out and get a job. I've seen parents on some of these YouTube videos which are making their kids leave the house, by evicting them to leave the house just to force them to grow up. Because this failure to launch thing is what's making our, younger generations even worse. This is how we're getting all these trans folks and whatnot. Again, I know there are people with gender dysphoria, and I know that's a problem, but I also know that that's a tiny, tiny fraction of the problem of the people that are trans these days. There's plenty of normal people who shouldn't be trans, but their parents brought them up too softly. Anyway, I want to get out of the trans thing. I don't want to get out of the trans thing. I just want to show something else from the trans thing, actually. Um, yeah, well, like my producer says, the millennial parents are starting to come together now with their children, and anyway, let's get to this here. So Nick Sator, who, by the way, him and Jeremy from the Quartering, and I'm sorry, Jack Posobiec and Steve Bannon and all you other people, they did a much better job of covering Charlie without all the static and all the noise, and they just stuck to the facts very much so, and still shared their emotions about things. Well, we know now that this is the trans shooter's boyfriend. No, I will not dignify it with anything else. And you can call me whatever you want for that. Breaking: Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson's roommate has been identified as 22-year-old Lance Twiggs. Amid reports Robinson was living with his transgender partner. Their families refused to deny transgenderism was a motive. Their families refused to deny transgenderism was a motivating factor in the killing. They refused to deny it. Okay. We all know it was. So apparently, even some of their family members are like, look, they went too far off the crazy train for us. And I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, in this particular case, you had a man who had a good family, and whatever their beliefs are, they believe in God, and they believe that God is the way, and they did their best to try and raise their children in that vein. But this one fell off the wagon, too far off the wagon. And again, it's because of the trans ideology. This is how you take a good kid from a good family and you completely and utterly destroy them. So this person here supposedly is helping the FBI with everything, but to me, I think that this person is a potential, in my opinion, is a potential co-conspirator. And also, from what I've been seeing, there are some reports that they have some screenshots from discords where there are some other participants. And again, I hope now that we're going to take hold of this and we're going to go after these people and we're going to go after them hard. And I want to see death penalties. I want to see lives in prison for people who didn't pull the trigger. All right. Nothing. Don't let them off one bit. And that's going to be our job, to hold them accountable, to hold the watchers accountable. Your Cash Patels, your FBI, your whatever else, we have to hold them accountable. Now, to bring up something unpleasant just for a second, I just want to show you what your power means. All right. When there was the hiccup with the Epstein files, we went after it, and some things are starting to happen now. All right. That's because we got together and we screamed, we need this. We want this. Again, this goes back to one of my first videos here. That is Trump a judge? And yes, I do believe he is a judge because now you have people sitting down here clamoring for these things to be put right. And it's time that we put it right. Now, you also have this bunch of losers who are out there celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. Now, I don't believe in censorship at all, and I don't think that the government should arrest them for their speech in any way, shape, or form. But I do like that they are feeling the consequences. I do like jobs lost. I do like friends turning their back. Jeremy played a video today on his Jeremy Hambley channel where he showed a girl that all her friends don't want to talk to her anymore because she was happy about the Charlie Kirk thing. So this is what we need to return to, a civil society. I want to disagree with you. I want to have the debates with you. And so do a lot of other ones of us. But how can we debate with people who only use ad hominem, who can only hurl insults, fascist, Nazi, da 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 da, da, whatever they do? How can we have that? We can't have that kind of debate. We can't get anywhere forward. Even if you're on the left and you want some of your policies to come forward, then you've got to be able to make a case for them. Instead of this, I'll just act like a spoiled child, call you names, and then, riot when you tell me no, which is basically a temper tantrum on a grand scale. All right. We have to stop this. We cannot allow it, and we cannot allow it to continue. Now, there's a couple of things that well, one more thing to wrap up on Charlie Kirk for now. You know, pray didn't help Charlie Kirk, did it? And the person praying says, "No, I was praying for you, for what's about to come." And when I say that, I'm not necessarily meaning that God's going to send lightning down from the heavens, but I do believe that God will not be mocked. And I do believe that this was the ultimate mockery of one of God's faithful, just doing his job peacefully, talking. And I think that having it happen in front of his wife and children like that makes it so much worse. So I do believe now is the time for a crackdown. The woke ideology has to be brought under our boot. And we won't stop until it is. Now, that's not to say that you should go out there and start, fighting with people or, trying to harm people or shoot at people or that, this or that. No, that is not what Charlie Kirk wants. It's not what God would want. And it's not what we should do. But at the same time, we have to be rabid in holding people accountable. Now, let's talk about those people who are celebrating the deaths again, right? Yes, they were held accountable. A lot of them are getting fired and whatnot, but let's find out which ones aren't. And let's find out what's wrong with that company that they are. I think that's a very important aspect that gets overlooked. I mean, there are plenty of people that they're outed, but yet results have not happened as a result. We got to go after it. We have to go after the company. We have to find out what's going on there. Do they have the woke mind virus? What are they doing? Are they doing something that we should know about? Who are they contributing to? Are they paying for some of these riots, perhaps? Yeah, we have to get that way in America right now because they chose the terms of war. They attack us. We're not going to just sit there and be targets for you. And we're not going to let it go unpunished in any way, shape, or form, and especially not in this case. All right, so now I want to move on to a couple of things that may be forgotten this week in the 9/11 world. Now, of course, we know about the Twin Towers. Everybody and his brother did their tributes, and again, I'd like to just take a moment of reflection and just take a moment and pray for those who live on, because those who have died are already with God. They're where they should be no matter what. But those who live on still have to live with that memory. Those who were in the building and managed to escape, those that watched other people die. Okay? Take a moment. Let's take a moment and prayer reflection. Okay. Now, having done that, and that certainly did lower my blood pressure a little bit. There are a couple of 9/11. There was a couple of things that got forgotten this week, and I want to make sure that they don't. And I'm going to put them right at the forefront. This also happened on 9/11. It was just happened to be 9/11 2012. And we will never forget Ambassador Chris Stevens, Sean Smith, Glenn Doherty, and Tyrone Woods. They were the heroes that died at Benghazi, the Benghazi Four. We must never forget them. We must never forget who they are. I'm going to post this picture again on my Twitter. I suggest you just keep it in your library and remember it. All right, because I know people that were very strong on it for a long time and then just kind of dropped it, and now it seems to be receding into the background. And we're never going to forget these people. The ambassador was a good man by any stretch of imagination. And yes, he was a Democrat, but that doesn't mean anything to me. What matters to me is he was a good man and he did his best. And Sean Smith really shouldn't have even been involved. He was a communications guy. All right. Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods were brave soldiers who gave their life fighting. They were literally in a modern Alamo. And if it hadn't been for them, I don't think anybody would have got out of there because according to Leon Panetta, The military isn't a 9/11 service. What an asinine thing to say. So let's not forget them. Let's keep them in our prayers. Let's keep their family in our prayers. I mean, they're where they should be now. So they're with God. God put them where they should be, and everything's good there. But let's pray for their families that still miss them. I still remember Sean Smith's mother recounting his passing, how he was calling prior to it, saying, I think something's going to happen. I think something's going to happen. And I just feel terrible. Another person that got a little bit lost in the shuffle this weekend, not to everybody. A lot of people are still remembering it, but we must never forget Irana. Irana. Ayana. Okay. So we can't forget her for any reason. We will not forget what she suffered and sacrificed because she left. I'm sorry, Iran. Ayana Zarutska. Okay. She was killed for no reason. She left Ukraine because it was a war torn area. And no matter how you feel about the war, she's innocent. She didn't do anything to anybody. She didn't do anything to anybody there. She didn't do anything to anybody here. And yet, this scumbag, and I don't like to call names, but I'm sorry, I can't think of a better word. This scumbag just killed her for no reason, technically. But I mean, he was, heard running up and down the bus announcing how he killed the white girl, and he was all proud of himself. Now, first off, I'd like to know how these weak, cowardly little monsters who even sneak up on a girl like that can act like they've done something wonderful after killing them. I mean, no matter how racially biased you are, is it a celebration any white person that you kill? I mean, you kill an old man, that's no challenge. You're not killing somebody that can fight back. You're not killing a target that's going to further your cause in any way. So what did killing her get us? Nothing. And what it did was it's starting to turn the country into seeing now that first off, we cannot let these scumbags out of prison 16 times in a couple of years and let them sign off on bail. All right. If you want to fight something, the first thing that we got to fight is we have to fight these Soros DAs, these no cash bail DAs. What is wrong with you people? You have a state that a lot of these are in. Most of those are red states where these blue state people are doing what they want within their cities where they run everything. All right. That cannot be allowed anymore. There we go. The killer was released from jail and now is in a private hospital outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. Are we happy with this? No. Now, why aren't we demanding some accountability? We can't just let it happen. We can't just sit still. We can't just be stupid and lame and clutch our pearls and whatever else. All right, we have to be Christian and stand up. Remember what this guy endured. And if you can't do that, then you're not fulfilling your obligation to God. So let's not forget that. I mean, it's disgusting that this guy is in a mental asylum of whatever sort. And I know that it has prison and detainers and whatnot. It's got a detainer wing and all that, but this isn't good enough. This guy should be in a general population of prison and let him do his crazy shuffle there. He forfeited his right when he did this. And don't tell me he wasn't in his right mind. He was celebrating. And again, weak minds like his get overtaken by the woke mind virus that it's okay to harm somebody because they're different from you. Well, it wasn't okay in the 60s and during the civil rights movement, and it's not okay now, and it doesn't matter which color you pick. All right, I got to move on from there because I'm just I'm just very aggravated in people's response, people's reaction, and the lack of uh, um, cojones coming from people. I mean, there's a lot of them now. We're stepping up, and hopefully, in the wake of what happened to Charlie Kirk, we will be able to make a stand. But in the meantime, I want to give you this Bible verse, and this is what I'm trying to get to. This is what we came here for. This is why there's butts in the seats right now, all four of them. And Jesus knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Do you realize the importance of that? That literally means that if we can't get a hold on this woke mind virus, that we are facing desolation. Now we face desolation, in the time of Revelations, but let's put that aside for now. Let's say that, it's still 20 years away. Well, we could face desolation, and we already see it in our cities. If you ever watch Metal Leo on YouTube, all right, Metal Leo, that's his name. He goes from city to city, blue city to blue city, where they have all these no cash bail things, where they let in every illegal alien they possibly can fit in, and everything is closed. Go down to Tenderloin in San Francisco now and see what it looks like. The last time I was there, it was terrible. It was desolate. There was nothing left. You could walk up and down all the streets that where I was used to seeing store after store after store after store. None of it's there anymore. And there are plenty of other cities like that. He does every one of them. San Antonio, Los Angeles, uh, there are a bunch of other ones. Now, he did do one on San Francisco just today, I believe, or yesterday, where, he went down Haight Street. Now, up at Ashbury, it looks good. Then you get to a certain part of Haight, and it's gone. All the businesses are gone, like he likes to say. Gone. And then you get down a little bit more, and it starts to turn it into a nicer neighborhood again. You know why? Because the people of San Francisco got rid of Chelsea Bodine. Now, Chelsea Bodine, I want you to remember this guy's name, okay? Was the adopted child of Benedine Dorn and I forgot the commie's name, Bernadine Dorn and her husband. He was the other commie. And they were the mentors of Barack Obama. So again, all of this evil began under Obama. In my opinion, no doubt about it. The country started to lose its civility, and then once it started to lose its civility, it unraveled. And then now you have people who will agree with anybody no matter what. No matter how heinous what they've done to other people are, you have people that will stand there and agree with them. You'll have people who will take their side. Again, we saw the celebrations of Charlie Kirk's death. I mean, honestly, and I'm not going to pick out a name because that's just not a good thing to do. But if it was anybody on the left that was, assassinated in a similar manner, I would be saying the exact same thing. And if any of us were celebrating about it, I would out you any way that I could. And I would make sure that your employer knew because it's disgusting. It is not what a civil society does. Do you know in the army, when people are shot and they belong to the enemy, we give them health care. We try to save their lives. And that's at war. So you can't tell me that you're in a trans war, all right? You're in a sexual identity problem. It's harsher than that. It's not, and you damn well know it. And it's about time we start realizing that stuff has changed a whole lot. And I almost cursed there. Thank you, God, for holding me back. Stuff has changed a lot. And it is not nearly as bad as it was before. And the problem is, we don't teach kids how bad it was before. When I was a kid in high school, We had pictures, we not pictures, we actually watched movies of them bulldozing people into mass graves during World War II. Children today, little, oh, my special little snowflake, he couldn't watch that. Well, you know what? If he doesn't watch it, then we're doomed to repeat it. And we're doomed to repeat it by idiots, which will make it even worse. So please remember that. Now, I wanted to do a few other things tonight, but I just feel like I want to close out the show because I really want it to be mostly about Charlie. And I want us to do our thing that, is important to us. So I want people to see it. I want people to understand that we need to fight now. All right. No, we do not need to go out and attack them in any way, shape, or form. That is not going to help the movement. You're not helping your friends, and you're certainly not honoring Charlie Kirk's memory if you do that. But we can honor Charlie Kirk's memory by holding them all accountable and by putting this woke mind virus down. And I mean putting it down. It's time now. And we have to stand as Americans. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. Fine conservative Tim Kramer. He just announced in this video, and I probably should have played it instead of just showing the picture. That no, he doesn't have any health problems, but he had been away for a while because his wife found out that she was terminal. And I, you know, I mean, I've been moved by, Erica Kirk's speech this week, and I was particularly moved also by Mr. Kramer's speech. Now, if any of you remember Axe Truth, I was one of the choppers there. Well, Axe used to put a lot of his stuff on because the man has his finger on the pulse. He's a good ally to the Trump administration and to MAGA. And he's also somebody who will call out things that are good or bad. By the way, having said that, now you know what? No, this is Tim Kramer's time. His wife is terminally ill, and she needs our prayers. I'm not saying that we have to pray for her to keep going on, although you would want to do that. God's miracle, a remission, something. But she's accepted what's happened. There was a part in his speech where he said, we went to visit a lot of people that we knew for one last goodbye. And I mean, as soon as he said that, I could just feel it in my chest. It was absolutely heartbreaking. And he's a good man, and he's going to be alone after she goes. So let's pray for him. Let's pray for her, and let's hope that we can at the very least, ask God to make whatever transition is going to happen easy. And of course, the initial prayer is we hope for a miracle. We want her to heal if it's possible. But again, let's pray for everything, the healing. And if not the healing, then whatever God's will is, we want it to be, we hope that it'll be this, like that she has an easy transition out and that it's peaceful and that Tim Kramer is going to be able to deal with this. The one thing that she told him that was most important to her was don't stop doing what you're doing. And I'm telling you, I'm choked up now just thinking about it because she loves him that much. And we've seen two good marriages now this week, that are, one's the husband's gone, one the wife is going, and they're at different stages of life. Charlie Kirk was just a young man. Some people say 31, some people say 33. You know, I according to what we have there, but I personally, I, I I feel for Erica Kirk, and I feel for Tim Kramer. So I want our prayers to be with them all the time now. I mean, you can put them in, you can fit them in. I know you do prayers every night. You're good Christians. You love God. You want to talk to Him. Of course, I want to talk to Him all the time. Another thing that I want to cover is Today was a very bittersweet moment for me. I had to close up my ministry, as it were, and it was a rather heartbreaking experience because the people in my life that I do this for, um, they can't get other places and they can't do a lot of other things. So I'm still going to try to get out and visit with people in home. I am having some health problems. I got something going on in my chest. I don't know what it is. We'll find out. But I'm trying my best to keep them going. But today I joined a new church, and it's a Church of Christ, and it was an absolutely beautiful day that I spent with these people. I spent over 4 hours there. It's a small congregation, tiny, less than 20, and they love the Lord, and they love to praise the Lord, and they love to live within the Bible. So at the very least, I have a good place to go from now on. But I want my people, and I know you're on Getter, and I know you were the only people watching me last week. Uh, I want my people on Getter and everything to know that I miss you, and that this is our chance to be together now when we do this. When I do my live streams and whatnot, and I'm going to put up more content pieces as we go, which will lean more towards my duties as a reverend to help teach the Bible chapter by chapter and verse by verse, and we'll go from there. But in the meantime, I miss you all and I love you all very much. And I again, don't be afraid to call me. We can always talk. And please tune in, when possible. And I'll let you know whenever I got a new video or something up that you might be interested in. So I'm going to call it a night tonight. Again, I'm trying to keep things to about an hour because we're not ex- we don't fully know how bad I am yet, so I'm trying not to put too much of a strain on myself. And believe it or not, I get so nervous sitting here that it is a little bit of a strain on me. And I had a long day getting to church and whatnot. So this church is like 20 miles from my house. That's how far out I had to go to find a church I could deal with. So there's that. But anyway, I am praying for you. I am praying for America. I am praying for every one of us to stand strong now in the wake of Charlie Kirk. I want us all to be Charlie Kirk. I was going to show a video that I had on Getter, but just look on my G Talks on Getter and you'll see it. Um, we are all Charlie Kirk now. And again, I've called for this time and time again since the beginning of this show a few months back. We have to watch our churches from now on. It's very, very important. Make sure that there is somebody armed at your church. These things like what happened to Charlie Kirk tend to have a ripple effect. And the frustration that a lot of these people who celebrated his death are feeling and lost their jobs and lost everything, that means that they will act out of desperation. It's just a natural fact, and we all know it. So I want everybody to keep your head on a swivel. If you are armed, stay armed. Yeah, make sure you have a gun in your home. If you don't have a gun, at least have something. But be very careful. But our church congregations and our schools, we have to watch them very carefully because these people will retaliate at some point, and they'll probably try to do it when we least expect it. So, I would think a week and a half after, or somewhere in that range, it could surely happen. Anyway, pray for me. Uh, I hope you pray for my health a little bit, but I hope you pray for Tim Kramer's wife even more so because she really needs you right now. She needs all your prayers and all your love and support. And I really hope that you pray for Erica Kirk the same way and the children the same way because they really need all your love and support. All right. So let's try and turn America back into one nation under God again. And pray for me. I'm praying for you. And we're done.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. I'll identify these people, who they are and what they're doing, because one of them gets a deadly wound. And the beast which I saw was likened to a leopard. That's one that changes spots. That's your Kenite. And his feet were as the feet of a bear. That'll take in Roosh. And his mouth is the mouth of a lion, his tearing. And the dragon, who? Satan himself, the old dragon, gave him his power and his seat. What again does this word seat mean? Throne. The dragon himself gives the one world government its throne. That means its power. You might wonder, many people would say, well, how could all these nations from Tahiti, from Bahrain to Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Yemen, how could all of them at the same time rise up? They got something in common, my friend. And we're talking about somebody that's going to give it a throne, not just a seat, a throne. What happens then? Verse 3, and I saw one of the heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Who healed that wound? Well, read the next verse. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him? The one world government, you can't make war with that. Why? There's no government to go against it. It consumes the world, but not God's elect. This is where you got to understand, and this is why you got to have strong faith, is to know as long as God is with you, who can be against you? Nobody. As long as you are armed with the sword of the Lord, the truth, and you understand what's happening in the world, God protects you. You and He make a majority, and you can count on that. You can believe it.